Hi, and welcome back to Musicians Edition, Aural Skills Lesson number 3. Coming up, we're going to be figuring out our sharps and flats, which we've gone over in some of our previous lessons, but we'll go over it again. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. So, in our last theory session, we went over sharps and flats. But in case you kind of missed it, here is a quick recap. Flats, they look like this, and they are a half step down from the original note. So, for example, we have the note B, and then B flat is a half step lower. And then a whole step. And I know we haven't really talked a whole lot about the whole steps, but we are here going to today, so you're going to get a little taste of what's coming up in theory, so you're going to be a tad bit ahead. Okay, so anyway, back to what we were saying. So this is a half step difference. So here's B, B flat, and then there's A. So the difference between B and A is a whole step. The difference between B and B flat is a half step. All right, so that takes care of the flats. Next, we also have the sharps, and it looks like this. Yes, I know it looks like a hashtag, but it's a sharp. Music has been here way before the internet, so that means the sharp was here before the hashtag. So a sharp is a half step up from a note. Since B is a little complicated for sharps, we'll go over this a little later down the road. We're going to do the note D this time. So here's D. And then D sharp is a half step higher. So that's D sharp. Okay, just because we briefly talked about the half steps and the whole steps, so we have this is our natural note, D. Half step up is D sharp. And then a whole step from D is E. Sharp, natural, whole step. So that was a brief tidbit on the flats and the sharps. If you want to get more into depth with it, I recommend going back to the previous theory lesson and learning it that way. But if you're feeling good and you're ready to move on to our exercises, let's move ahead. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to play 2 notes, and I want you to tell me if it's a flat or a sharp. So for example, if this is my first note, this is my second note, I'm going to ask you if that's a flat or a sharp. This one is a sharp. All right, are you ready? All right, let's begin. Here is the first one. Take a listen again. And one more time. Was that a sharp or a flat? That one was a flat. Great job. And how did you know? A great way to remember a flat is think of a flat tire. It makes your car sit lower. Okay, here is the next one. What is this one? Listen again. And one more time. Was that a sharp or a flat? That one was a sharp. And a way to remember it, since you're probably already thinking the hashtag, we use the hashtags for more viewers, higher. So when you see the sharp, it's higher. All right, let's try another one, shall we? Let's do it again. One more time. Is that sharp or flat? That one is a sharp. Let's try another one, shall we? Listen again. And one more time. That one is flat. Now it doesn't matter if we're in the bass clef or the treble clef. A flat will always be a half step lower and a sharp will always be a half step higher. Let's do another one, shall we? one's a little harder to hear. Sometimes it helps if we kind of sing it. La, 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 la. Can you figure that one out? That one is a flat. That one was pretty hard, but I think we pretty well got the gist of it, right? All right, so now, going back to what we talked a little bit about beforehand when we were talking about the half steps and the whole steps. So, when you're looking at the keyboard, you have the white keys, right? And the black keys. If you're in the key of C, that means you're all on the white notes. So that's a good way to think of it. We'll play in the key of C. And then that means the black notes are either a sharp or a flat, depending on how it's written. So when you're in the key of C, you have the half step, C, C sharp, but then you have the whole step, which is C to D. So when it's a whole step, for the most part, we'll hit the more complicated stuff later on because it's not always as easy as said. But for now, the way we're thinking of it is a whole step would mean there's not a black key in between. You have C natural, D natural, then the next whole, no, the whole step is E natural, so it would be all naturals. Okay, so going over our next exercise. So the first thing we're gonna do is determine if it's a half step or a whole step. So if it's a half step, say for this, you're gonna say it's a half step. And then I want you to tell me if it's a sharp or a flat. But if it's a whole step, you just need to say a whole step, and then you can tell me whether it's up or down. So this is a whole step up. This is a whole step down. So this one's gonna be a little trickier than, maybe to me, I think this one will be trickier than any of the exercises we've done so far. But we'll just kind of have to listen carefully and try to figure it out. So let's get started, shall we? All right, so here is the first one. Take a listen again. One more time. Now, was that a half step or a whole step? Was it down or up? It's down. And it's a half step, so it's a flat. Cool. All right, here is the next one. Listen again. One more time. All right, so first, is this up or down? That one is up. Is it a sharp, so a half step, or is it a whole step? This one is a whole step. A half step would be this. All right, let's do the next one, shall we? What is this? Listen again. One more time. All right, so first let's determine, was it higher or lower? This one was lower. Now, was it a half step lower or a whole step lower? These are always so tricky, aren't they? This one was a whole step. If it were a half step, it'd sound like this. All right, let's do the next one, shall we? Let's listen again. One more time. So was this higher or lower? It was lower. Now is it a half step lower or a whole step lower? This one was only a half step, so it's a flat. All right, let's do another one, shall we? All right, let's listen. Let's listen again. And one more time. So was that higher or lower? It was higher. Now is it a half step higher or a whole step higher? That one was a whole step. If it were half step, it'd sound like this. All right, let's do another one, shall we? What about this one? Let's listen again. One more time. All right, now was that higher or lower? That one was lower. Now is it a half step lower or a whole step lower? That one is a whole step lower. If it were a half step, it would sound like this. Let's do another one, shall we? How about, let's go low. Listen again. One more time. All right, so was that higher or lower? That one was higher. Is it a half step higher or a whole step higher? That one was a half step higher. If it were whole step, it would sound like this. I don't know about you, but to me, I have a harder time hearing the lower registers. Could just be because I play flute, so I'm used to hearing the higher stuff. Or it could just be me, I don't know. All right, let's do one that's in the higher register this time. How about this one? Listen again. And one more time. Was that higher or lower? That one was lower. Is it a half step lower or a whole step lower? That one is only a half step lower. If it were whole step, it would sound like this. Great job for today. I know that was a lot more challenging than the other exercises we have. It'll get easier as we go along because we're going to start listening to our scales. That's what's coming up. And once we start listening to our scales, we'll start recognizing more what is the whole step, what is the half steps. So just keep working on it. If you struggled, please let me know in the comments. If you didn't have any problems at all, please also let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear how you're doing. Thanks for joining me. Before we go, I'd like to send a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification button so you don't miss any of our lessons. Thanks for joining me, and until next time.